Hello, and welcome to the first Superintendent's Corner of the new school year. I'm Matthew Weldon, here with Superintendent Tim Saxton. Thank you for being here today.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, we've been back to school for a little over a month now. What is the district focusing on this year?
That's a great question. And I don't know if most people know, but in August we have this big district kickoff over next door here in the Performing Arts Center. 500 staff members in there to set the goals for the year. Really, our focus this year is, we had a great event last spring in May. The community came and supported the Boardman schools. Our goal is not to rest, not to just say, great, it's done, it's over. It's not over. We made a 10-year promise. So what can we do now to make sure that we're going to uphold that 10-year promise? So the community put their trust in us. We don't want to rest on that trust. How can we increase that trust? How can we increase the accountability and the transparency? So the challenge to our staff is, how can we take a look at what we're doing and be even more accountable and be more transparent? So that's the focus. The second piece is, we have some very talented educators working in our district, talented professionals. So how can we use each other to make each other better? There's a concept called iron sharpens iron. As iron sharpens iron, one man can sharpen another. So we're using that concept to take a look at how we can work with each other to make each other better and be more accountable to each other. That's the big overarching goals.
I see that a lot, the one man making another man better, especially in the BSTM program, because I've learned a lot from even other students.
Well, there's in practice, you know, and that's the way it should work. It should permeate all the parts of the school district.
Yeah. What is it like organizing the busing at the beginning of the school year? And can you talk about the tracking app, Here Comes the Bus?
Absolutely. You know, busing, that is a major event. It doesn't just start in August. You know, most people think maybe the day before school, what time is my bus going to be there? Meanwhile, from May on, we have been planning. And it is not an easy task. We have a great transportation supervisor in Debbie Brothers. She has a great administrative assistant now in Kathy Fate, who has bus driving experience. So we have a good team overseen by Jack Zocklow. But you know, we have several thousand kids riding buses. We have 50-some buses on the road. We have 3 different levels of routes. So a lot of careful planning, and the tough part is you can only plan as good as your data. So our focus this year is making sure that we know exactly who really wants to ride the bus, because in the past, we've guaranteed every kid a seat. You know, and that sounds really good, but really that's not going back to that accountability and transparency. We can be more efficient. So one of the things that we've done this year that's new is this opt-out, because there are kids. Yeah. I know 2 kids in my own family that don't ride the bus. There's no reason to keep a seat for them. So can parents then opt out? We can free up a seat and become more efficient. So that's what we're focused on. Your second question was the app. That's the parent piece. Every school parent, pretty much K through probably freshman, sophomore year, their whole life is centered around buses in the morning and buses in the afternoon. So how can we make that a little bit easier and make that more organized? So this is, I believe, our 3rd year now with the bus app. The bus app just helps people know when that bus is coming. It's called Here Comes the Bus. Yeah. It works on the different platforms. We want to make sure it's working, that we're answering parents' questions, it's easy to use, and it's making their life a little bit easier. Again, that's that accountability piece.
Yeah, I remember when I was in like elementary school and stuff, and I was like, oh, when's my bus going to get here? That would have helped a lot when I was younger.
Yeah, I remember old school, back in the day when young Mr. Saxton was with his lunch pail getting on the bus. We did the old look out the back window, so when the bus went behind the street behind us, we knew it was time to get out in the driveway. That was old school technology, the back kitchen window.
I had to look down. I had to go down the street for it. So.
Well, see the advancements. We went back kitchen window down the street. And now we have an app.
Yeah.
Next thing we'll have robo buses. We'll just pick you up and take you right to your classroom.
Yeah. Don't have to walk
maybe
it
next
off.
year. We'll look at that.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of the beginning of the school year, is there anything new in regards to school safety?
School safety, obviously, just like you're asking about buses, but really on the top of our minds is always school safety. A child can't learn if they don't feel safe. There's many layers of that, but the layer that the parents want to know is when my kid gets on that bus, I want them to be safe and I want them to return home safely. So, you know, what is the school doing? Obviously, you know, the events that happen across the nation, that is disturbing. So how are we making sure that we're keeping an eye on safety, not resting? The best thing, I believe personally, and it's part of our district philosophy, is these major issues have always been people issues. And how can we get better at investing in people? So we have a very intensive and a very thorough SRO program, 4 SROs. With Paul Polis here, Phil Merlot over at Glenwood, Mike Salser at center, and then we added Sergeant Mike Sweeney, who replaced Chuck Hillman, who was our first SRO. They know the kids. They're listening. They monitor social media. They're making relationships with kids because kids know. It's just making sure that they tell somebody so we can be proactive and be preventative. But it's also reassuring that we have trained professionals whose whole career in their profession is the idea of protection, and we have them in our buildings.
Yeah. I honestly really like having the school resource officers here. They make it feel a lot safer here.
Yeah,
especially with everything going on.
And from minor to major.
Yeah.
You know, it's just good to know. And I think it's important that we tell Boardman students and the Boardman community, the Boardman Police Department are professionals and they're here to help. And I think that's a great message, and our kids are learning it starting, in kindergarten all through the next 13 years. So we're graduating a group of kids that understand the importance and the value of the Boardman Police Department.
Which they do a lot. I respect everyone in the Boardman Police Department.
Absolutely.
I understand with the levy being passed and the hiring of new teachers, there's a misconception that those were new positions. Can you clear that up a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've tried to address that wherever I talk to parent groups. Back in the spring, back in March, we had the State of the Schools meeting. We talked about Plan A and Plan B. Plan A talked about reducing 11 positions across the district through attrition. Attrition is just a fancy word for when a teacher retires, we do not replace that position, so we can get leaner. So we did do Plan A. And the other part of Plan A is we asked for the community to help, and they did their part. It goes back to what I said probably 5 minutes ago. I don't want the community to think it's done, it's over. We have a 10-year plan. We are not adding new positions. Now, we had new hirees because we did have some teachers, especially young teachers in the spring, who weren't sure about the outcome of the levy, started interviewing other places, and we lost some good young teachers. They were not on Plan A. You know, they're in different curricular areas, so we did have to replace them, and that's what we did. And if you ever look at our board agendas, we show you exactly where this person goes, where this person goes. Now, we did have a couple positions that we added, but they're federal programs, so they're federally funded. The one position that we did add was the in-school reassignment position at Glenwood, because they did not have that. Center had it. They shipped their kids over to Center. Their kids were not getting the good counseling and instruction from their own staff. And we did that, and ironically, the governor signed into law House Bill 318, which mandated that you have to have in school and have be supervised by an educated professional. So we actually did that before that bill passed, but now that matched, because if we didn't do it, we would have had to have done it anyways. The good news is, even though we added that position, we were able to reduce an additional position elsewhere. So we actually reduced 12 positions, but we brought one back. So we are following through on our promise in Plan A, and we reduced 11 positions.
Okay, so we're exactly where we said we were going to be. Okay.
Yep.
The school report card were just issued from the state. What do you want people to know about the report card and what it means for Boardman students and staff?
Well, there's obviously one of the biggest successes, excitements in there was the gap closing. They go from a C to an A. What's gap closing? What does that mean? Well, there are 10 federally recognized subgroups, and we have 9 of those 10. And so what the state says is we're going to look at each one of those subgroups. Are they learning at the same pace and getting the same quality education as all the kids? And if not, that's the gap. And how are you closing that gap? Well, I can tell you, all 9 of our subgroups by far passed the benchmark. So we were at 100% rating on that, and that's why we got an A in that. So that shows you our philosophy is you're part of the Spartan family. We want to service all kids. That's always been one of our goals. And that metric shows that we're doing it. The area of progress, we improved that grade. We did not like that ugly F, so we moved it up to a D. And one of the things we talked about, I would love for it to go from an F to an A, but I'm a realistic person, so we're making steps towards getting that to A. Our goal is we want all A's. We're not going to rest till we have that. But we're taking a look at our successes, analyzing the data, because there's a lot of data, and we'll continue to dig deeper and keep moving. We have 2 A's. Our goal is to make sure we have 6 A's.
So that's always a good goal to have A's.
Yeah, 4.0, I like that.
Well, thank you for your time today, Mr. Saxton.
It's always, like I said, it's always a pleasure to be here. I'm a big supporter of BSTN and what you guys do. I'm
Thank you.
always impressed with your professionalism, your technology, and obviously the leadership in here.
Thank you. As a senior, I'm looking forward to a great school year. If you're looking for any information about the schools, you can visit the school district website at boardmanschools.org. For BSTN, I'm Matthew Elton.